I've taken apart the entire front end of the car, and that's because today we're finally going to respray the engine bay. I'm going to be turning this into this. Before we start, I'd like to say a huge thank you to mixgarage.com for sending out all of the paint. Go check them out, link is in the description of this video. They have great value on literally anything you need for your car, including paint, tools, parts, you name it. Go check them out, get yourself something. I definitely do recommend them. With that being said, let's get to work. As you can see, we've clearly taken literally everything out of the engine bay, but we do have to clean it as it is extremely dirty, so let's get to that. Using just a wet cloth, we managed to clean up the engine bay quite decently. Of course, there was plenty of rust there, but we fixed that later on in the video, as you will be able to see. But we did a decent job to start off. We wiped the car down and now it's somewhat clean, but we weren't able to get into tighter spaces here, so I'm going to pressure wash it, but not get water into all these holes. So let's give that a go. I wrapped the wiring loom in a bin bag, as you can see there, under the wheel well and right in the engine bay, just to avoid getting any water into any electrics, just to be safe. We did get a bit of water through the holes from the brake servo, but it was okay. We finished washing the engine bay. It is now nice and clean. I will now move on and get rid of some of his rust with this wire brush right here. As you can see, I've started going there and there. I'm going to get rid of as much of the rust as I possibly can, and then I'm going to start sanding. Using a wire brush, we managed to get any flaking paint off and turn surfaces from that to this, and then we started sanding. We started off using 80 grit, which was a little too rough, but it was the only one we had, and we tried doing the best job we could, as you can see. And once we sanded down the entire engine bay with 80 grit, we moved on to 400 grit, and this is what it looked like. We finished sanding down the car with 400 grit sandpaper. We're now going to rub it down with some sanitizing alcohol and then start putting the primer on. There's not much to see here. We were just wiping down the engine bay to get rid of any dust that was there, so we had a nice surface to lay the primer on. And once we were done with that, we started to very professionally mask off the windscreen, as you can see. And once that was done, we started putting the first coat of primer. And here's what the engine bay looks like after the first few coats of primer. It definitely isn't perfect, and I will do more coats tomorrow morning because it is getting late. I'm going to pack up, but tomorrow I'm going to do another few coats of the primer, and then I'm going to move on to paint. Hopefully it's going to turn out very nicely. I'm quite happy with how it is, although there's a bit dripping here and there. I just went a little too thick. Quick correction right there. I didn't actually go too thick on the coat. I actually just didn't shake the can well enough. You'll see that we fixed it the next day. It's the first time using this type of paint, but I'm going to tidy that up tomorrow, and then we're going to put the paint, and it's going to look very nice. Here we have just a few close-up shots of the engine bay. You can see where we messed up here and there, the dripping paint. I didn't shake the can well enough once again, but you will see we do fix it up the next day. Well, it's the next day, and looking at it now, there's a few things I need to fix before I put the second layer of primer on. For example, here and in another few places, I went a little too thick on the first coat. Once again, I didn't go too thick, I just didn't shake the can well enough, and there's a bit of dripping, so I'm going to have to blend that in with a scuff pad, and then I'm going to do the second coat of primer. Down here where I wrapped up all the wiring harness and all the connections in this bin bag, I didn't get much access there, so I'm going to have to put this up here now that it's dry, and I'm going to do a light coat just in that area, and then I'll go for the second coat all around once I have blended in all of those dripping marks, but let's see how that goes. I've just finished the second coat, and I must say that I'm quite happy with how it turned out. All the drips are mostly gone, or at least I can't see them, so I think this is a good base to start applying the white paint. There's not much else I can say about it, so let's get to work with the white paint. So we're going to be using this gloss white paint, which was sent out to us by mixgarage.com. Go check them out, link is in my bio, as once again. I'm going to be linking all the products I use in the description of this video, so if you're interested, go have a look at that. Very good value, especially compared to other brands. So yeah, let's see how this turns out. I'm going to do it in sections. I'm going to start with that wall there, then I'll probably move on to the firewall, and then this side here, and also the outsides. It's just the bag there is blocking up a lot of space, but I'll work around it. I'll probably start off with this side. Let's go. I didn't film much during the first coat of white paint, except here near the end where we're just doing the passenger side. It was going well. A bit patchy in some places. We definitely had to do a second layer, but it was going well so far. And this is what the engine bay looks like after 2 coats of gloss white paint. I really like it, but we're not done yet. We need to do this bar down here black, and then we're going to do lacquer. Let's see how it goes. We've masked off this bar down there, so now we can paint it black. This is what the bar looked like after we painted it black. I think it's very nice contrast. It's going to fall very well within the shadows of the front bumper. Now, I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but this looks nice. I can't wait to take off the masking paper and finally see what the bar looks like black with engine bay white. I'm really happy with it. Let's see. And there we go, that looks very nice. Now let's move on and do the lacquer. I put on a few coats of lacquer, let them dry, put the panels back on, put the hood back on, and I'm really happy with this. I mean, seriously. It's not perfect, definitely isn't perfect. It could be much better, but I'm really happy with how it came out, especially that I did it all myself and it didn't even take that much work. Well, it did, since we had to take the engine out, but you know, it was fun, it was a nice experience. And the fact that I did it myself makes it even better. So there we go, that's how the engine bay respray turned out. At the time of editing this, the engine is already back in. We've also painted the cam cover and the block on that silver and red. Check out the TikTok to see that, link is in the description, and all the products I've used also in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.